All right, next I'm going to take an 8mm socket and remove the throttle body, and then I'll have to take out the hoses, that one that's busted down below and the one that's connected to the throttle body there. And as far as the EGR valve is concerned, I don't know about all that yet, but basically I've got to get unmounted that section there so I can move the intake back after I get it loose, so I don't have to worry with the fuel rail connections. Okay, now I took off the top two bolts of the throttle body. Now I have this to take off and this one here to take off, which is the broken one. That one is. So I've decided to go ahead, since I have two mounting bolts left, instead of taking off the other two bolts and then the hose, I've decided, since it's mounted where I don't have to struggle with it, since I don't have to struggle with it, I'm going to go ahead and take off that clamp and that hose first, and try to get that clamp and that hose off next, then remove the throttle body. And of course, I would greatly recommend using this type of tool to remove it. Just make it a little easier on you. Sometimes they work really, really great. They're good to have. And sometimes the spaces are so tight you can't get to it. But that's what I'm going to attempt to use today. Okay, the previous tool won't work good, so got me some long extension needle nose pliers and easily removed that off. No problem. Okay, now what I'm going to do on the one that has to actually be replaced, I'm going to just go ahead and cut it off. There's no need to worry about this hose, because it's done. It's done for. Okay. Okay. This is the 10mm bolt that come out. 8mm bolt that come out of the throttle body. There's 4 of them. As you can see, the lower ones are a little bit to get to. You can get to them with an 8mm long socket. When you've got them completely out, when you start to pull the bolt out from underneath, make sure you have a good hold on them or a very good magnet, because they'll tend to want to drop. So with that, the throttle body is out. There's the cut hose, and I'll finish cutting that off. And next, I'll go to taking off the throttle body that's hooked on to the intake itself, the rest of the throttle body mount. Okay, now I'm into the, okay, there it is. I'm having to use a short extension with a universal to get to that first one. And the second one below that, I'm going to go underneath the hose there to get to the very back one, I hope. Next, I went ahead and used an 8mm wrench to do the passenger side top rear throttle body bolt to take it out. It was a better fit. Might take a little longer, but at least you know things aren't going really bad, so to speak. Here I've elected to use a standard socket wrench to get to that back bolt back there. It wasn't extremely tight. May have been off before and I just don't know it, but anyway, I'm going to take that off next. And then the last one will be the most difficult, which will be behind the back there. Now, most of you will probably ask, why don't I just take off the heater hose, or not the heater hose, but the radiator hoses? Well, as everybody that's worked on a Lincoln before, these plastic hoses create a lot of issues when trying to bleed the air out of the system, and can be quite a aggravation. So far, I've lost no water in the system and it's still full. There is a bleed valve, of course, over here, but there again, you have to take a lot of time and be meticulous about getting the air out of the system so that you don't, well, overheat the engine. Okay, so I'm going to take this bolt out now. Well, as you can see, it's a very tight fit. I hope I can get that in there good. It's much glare and everything. So, putting it back in, may have to take the water part, the water hose, where the thermostat and all that is. I don't know yet. But my goal is to get the intake off. Okay, next, I took these type of pliers and pinched those ends to remove this hose that goes to the top of the intake on that. So next, I go to the other side and remove this one right there.